is the Coach Jay Show. Your all-access pass to Auburn women's basketball with head coach Johnny Harris. Live from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Auburn. With Coach Jay, here's the voice of Auburn women's basketball, Britt Bowen.
Warrigo, everybody, and welcome to Baumhower's Victory Grill tonight out on Bent Creek Road in Auburn. The Southeastern Conference season is underway, and that means the weekly Coaches Show is back for Auburn women's basketball. Tonight, the Coach Jay Show makes its return to Baumhower's Victory Grill here on Bent Creek Road. Good evening, and War Eagle. Welcome into the season's first edition of the Coach Jay Show with on-site producer Wes Todd. I'm Britt Bowen. Welcome to our viewers tuning in live on the Auburn Tigers YouTube channel tonight. YouTube is our new platform this year for the show. If you can't make it out to Baumhower's Weekly, you can tune in for free on YouTube every Monday night at 6. We'd also love to have you join us here at Baumhower's. They've got great food and great service. We've got a full show for you tonight. Coach Jay will lead us off as we'll take a look back at non-conference play and the 8-game winning streak the Tigers went on in December. We'll also recap the first week of the Southeastern Conference season. Auburn opened with a tough matchup with Tennessee, followed by the first conference road trip to Texas A&M this past Sunday. And last year, Coach Harris added associate head coach Fred Williams to her staff. Coach Fred is a WNBA coaching veteran. He had the scout for Tennessee, and he also has the upcoming scout for Ole Miss. We'll pick Coach Fred's brain on those games and much more. And then a pair of special guests will join us in the bottom of the hour tonight. Point guard Jemiah Mingo Young and forward Taylon Collins will join us for the first time. To conclude the show, Coach Jay and I will set up the next week with Ole Miss and LSU on the horizon, and then we will also have trivia questions at the end of the night. Without further ado, let's give the star of the show tonight, Coach Jay, a big round of applause tonight here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Coach Jay, War Eagle, welcome in.
War Eagle.
Glad we get to do this 2 years in a row. Good food at Baumhower. This is always a good, fun thing to do on Monday night.
Absolutely, and a great crowd. Appreciate y'all for being here.
All right, it's been a busy year so far. I can't believe it's already in January, a weekend to SEC play, because you all had a busy offseason. And truthfully, it started with who you brought in the newcomers. You brought in a mix of D1 transfers, JUCOs, and then you also brought in some freshmen this year. Coach, take us back to how the roster that you wanted to build for year 3 of your era here at Auburn.
You know, we wanted to bring in some experience, so that's where we got our transfers from. We started out with some size. We definitely needed size, so we signed 3 bigs. We signed 2 early, and then we signed another one late. So we wanted to address that first, and then later in the spring we brought in some transfers, brought in a couple of junior college players, and to add some experience, some athleticism, some players that fit our system.
And I really like the core returners you had coming back. Honesty, obviously, is going to highlight the group, but you look at what Marshawn Bostic adds to the roster. I mean, she's a starter or she can excel coming off the bench. Caitlin Duhan and her defense. Sydney Shaw, when she's going, is helpful. And I don't think there's a more improved returner than Owen Demola Akinbalawa. And then, of course, Carson McFadden, how awesome Carson is day in and day out for the program.
Absolutely. All of those players played a key part in recruiting the players that we got in, and they were just committed. Honestly, I'll start with her. She wanted to stay here. She wanted to help get this program back to where it used to be. So she had an opportunity to go play at the next level, but she's unselfish. She loves Auburn, and she is giving us everything she have night in and night out. And then, the rest of that crew, they did a great job of just buying in, going to work in the postseason last year, and they did a great job recruiting the players that we have now.
Well, and you also in the offseason as well, you have 2 additional assistant coaches on staff. With the NCAA rule change, you were able to promote Alex Stewart and Savannah Carter. I've made that mistake so many times. Alex Stewart and Savannah Carter from your support staff to assistant coaches. Coach, why those? Why make that move in the offseason with those 2?
They were already bought in. They knew our system. Savannah played for me.
Yeah.
She's been a head coach at the junior college level, And then Alex has been a head coach, and she has previous assistant coaching experience. So just to have that on your staff, have somebody that already knew you, already knew your players, and they're already bought in. They love the system that we're playing in. It was just an easy fit, and they've been doing a great job.
Favorite thing about this all season, watching from afar, was what you all were able to do and the trip you were able to take going to Paris and then also going to Switzerland. Coach, looking back on those games, how did those games prep you for even just the fall preseason camp? Because that's not an experience that every team in America gets to do every single year.
Yeah, you see your team grow. You see what you need, what you have, and what you need to work on, so you could go back in the preseason and get after it. You know, I thought our team was, you know, we already had that chemistry. I felt like from the time that group stepped on campus, we had a really good chemistry. It was just putting them together on the court and finding out what their niche was, you know, and putting them in our system and figuring out who fit where. We have players that can play multiple positions, so just who fit where and how to put them in the best position possible. And I thought that trip over there did that. We faced some adversity over there. You know, it was physical. You know, this was their first time. You know, I had 9 players that didn't play last year, so this was their first time playing together, playing in this environment. And I thought they, you know, I really loved the way they responded to adversity over there.
Yeah, you mentioned bonding, and you've told me from day one of you getting to Auburn that bonding is so important for a team. How does that translate over onto the court with communication and trust with one another in those tough situations throughout the year?
You know, you have to care about each other to have each other's back. You know, in our defensive system, and we everything starts for us on the defensive end. But if you're pressuring the ball, the heartache of that is getting beat off the dribble. You got to know that the person next to you is denying. You got to know that there's somebody in help, or you're just going to get beat. So everything that we do is predicated on trust. You got to know that if there's a screen being set, somebody's going to call that screen out. Somebody's going to hedge to help you get over the screen. So that bonding is a very big part of that.
Well, you can't mention Paris without mentioning shopping. I know you're a big shopping fanatic. Did you shop till you dropped while you were in France?
I did shop till I dropped, and I shopped with Taylor Collins.
Oh, you shop with Taylor Collins?
Yeah, so
okay.
You'll be talking to her a little later.
Right.
She had as many bags as I did.
She's modeling a purse over here in the booth, so we'll be able to talk about that. Maybe she can help me out with my wife. Maybe she can give me some ideas for maybe a future birthday gift. Her birthday's coming up in April, Taylor. So,
I'll tell you what,
so
if you're asking Taylor,
okay.
I hope your wallet is fat.
It is.
Because she's going to send you to the best stores.
All right, well, I might have to save up for a couple years before I ask Taylor. Okay, so, but in non-conference play, Coach, I know coming out, you built a tougher schedule this year, 11-2. You had 5 Power 5 opponents, Rutgers, UCF, Cal, Clemson, Washington State. And you told me you tried to schedule teams that might emulate what you might see in the SEC. Take me through that. What are some of the schemes and comparisons that you wanted to schedule this season in non-conference?
You know, we just wanted teams that were physical. We wanted to have teams that played 5 out, that had 5 shooters. And then we wanted to have some teams that had some size. So I felt like with pretty much a new team, we needed to be able to see all of that and not just jump into conference play before seeing it. And I thought our kids got better and better as the non-conference season went on.
Yeah, Rutgers, that game was so fun because it was a coming out party for Scotty. She had a double-double in that game. And, for her, Coach, that really, I thought, was the first adversity the team faced. And they answered the bell. And, truthfully, those are games, Coach, that can help you in the midst of what Auburn's facing now. It's a tough SEC schedule, and that's why you scheduled that trip to Rutgers.
Absolutely. It is a tough SEC schedule, and we did face adversity up there. And I thought our team responded. I thought they took what we put in practice in one day and was able to go out and execute it. I thought they were all on the same page. Our bench energy was really good. We had fans up there, fan support. Honesty had a big family following up there. McKenna Eddings had a big family following that drove in from Virginia, and it was just a really fun atmosphere for our players.
Yeah, for your team, you dropped 2 in non-conference play to 2 solid teams, Cal and UCF. But even more importantly, I thought it was how you responded, Coach, after those losses, because that's when the streak started in non-conference play. Do you revert back to that in those experiences with this team? That was just a little over a month ago.
Absolutely. You use that to get better. You use every experience to get better. And we did that. That UCF team, it was a tough environment for us. Our shots didn't fall. Honesty was just coming back, didn't play well. She had been injured. And so that was our first game, not really having our leader at full strength.
Yeah.
And then you come back, and then the Cal game, was a little bit before that. But that Cal game was our first, tough, big. They were a tough, competitive team, and I thought they gave us a really good look that prepared us for the Clemson, for the Washington State game.
I do want to touch on Clemson before we move on to SEC play. Clemson, Coach, that was big not only for Auburn. You win by 30. Obviously, it helps your postseason resume, but also it helped the SEC tie the ACC in the ACC-SEC Challenge, because I think that was the last game, Wes, is that right? That was the last game that went final in that challenge. Coach, how much pride did your team and staff take in that win? And walk me through how you did it, because 30 points against any Power 5 is not an easy feat.
Well, I just thought we went out there and we played our game. We tried to take them up. They like to shoot the ball. They run a 5-out motion offense, and their 5-player can shoot it. We just tried to take them away from the things that they wanted to do. We didn't let them run the plays that they wanted to play. I thought our kids played their guts out. They played extremely hard. They played together. They were connected. Our chemistry was really good. Our bench was really good, so we were able to play really hard, and we had continuity through our substitution. So it was really, really good for us, and I felt like it was a big stepping stone.
11-2 in the non-conference, and gave you some good momentum going into SEC play. And looking at that SEC schedule this year, love the Southeastern Conference, but boy, the league is tough top to bottom, and Auburn certainly got no favors this year, Coach, with the early draw. And honestly, it's similar to what we've had in years past, because this year out of the gate you get the original blue blood in Tennessee, followed by a Texas A&M team that was solid talent last year. They weren't healthy, but they added even more pieces this year, in addition to a Sweet 16 team in Ole Miss, and then the defending national champs this week.
Yeah, four of the top 6 teams right off the bat. And then going to a very, very good Vanderbilt team is number 5. So, yeah, tough first 5 games, but, you have to go through it, and you just hope to get better after each game and be in the ball games and be competitive and give yourself a chance to win. I thought, we ran into a buzzsaw yesterday at Texas A&M, but I really feel like that we were really prepared. I felt like we were prepared for the Tennessee game. Yeah. We did give ourselves a chance to win. We missed some shots. We missed some layups. And we had a couple of defensive breakdowns there toward the end that cost us the ball game. But I really felt like we played as well as Tennessee played in the game. They just had a couple more plays on the offensive end that cost us the ball game. Texas A&M, they're a very talented team, and we caught them on a night that they played their best basketball. But we'll get a chance to see them again on senior night. So our kids will have an opportunity to make that right.
Well, you mentioned that to Texas A&M. We all remember what happened last year with Ole Miss. Auburn was without a couple players to start conference play last year. Ole Miss comes to town a month later, and then you knock off a team that eventually makes it on to the Sweet 16. So it can happen. And the thing about Tennessee is, yes, you only play them once. You see them again in the SEC tournament. You know what works. You know what doesn't work, because this team, look, yes, they have Rakia Jackson. They're a good ball club, but what I saw the other night, I saw a beatable Tennessee basketball team, Coach.
Absolutely, and I think our team will grow from that.
Yeah.
I just felt like we ran out of gas. We played our guts out. We played hard. I felt like everybody played really extremely hard, and I felt like we had a couple of breakdowns, both on the offensive and defensive end, but it was due to our fatigue at the time. And the more you play, the more you get into the season, that should not be a problem. So I feel like we'll get better from that.
Defending Rakia Jackson, it's so much easier said than done, and it's easier to draw up a game plan on paper. It's a lot harder to execute. Coach, she's a pro. We've seen it with Ryan Howard. We've seen it with South Carolina's talent. What's it like coaching? You're a defensive specialist. That's what your bread and butter is. What's it like coaching against that kind of talent, game in and game out?
Just to come up with schemes against her and to go out and see our team executed, and we did for 30 minutes. I felt like we did a great job on her. I think she came out and, she was the pro that she was. Our issue was we let the point guard go off.
Yeah, Powell.
And she started off, and then that opened things up for Rakia. So, I just felt like our team was really prepared for that battle with Rakia. You can't guard her with just one person, so we were able to help a little bit. But now you have to help on the point guard because she's, and she's a really good point guard that can be a really high scorer. So when she started to go off, I think that opened things up for Rakia.
The opposites from what we saw from Thursday to Sunday was two teams in schemes defensively. Tennessee, they don't rely on turnovers to produce. Now they're quick in transition, but they don't rely on turnovers. Texas A&M, on the other hand, Auburn took care of the ball against Tennessee with only 6 turnovers. It was higher double-digit turnovers against Texas A&M. Talk me through the difference in playing those two teams back-to-back, because Texas A&M, their guard pressure on the wings, I thought was disruptive most of the day.
And it was, but if you went back and look at it, a lot of our turnovers were unforced.
Sure.
It was from us rushing. It was unforced. It wasn't due to their pressure. It was just due to us not being in the right spots, or throwing a pass and not looking to where you're throwing it first, and not just because of the pressure, but they were unforced turnovers. Yeah. It was undisciplined, and that is experience. That is, our inexperience going against a team that had more experience and a lot of talent. So I think that was most, and I'm not taking anything
Sure.
away from Texas A&M. They're a really good team, and they're a really good defensive team. But we had a lot of unforced turnovers in that ball game, and the good thing for us is all those, that is fixable.
Looking ahead, to Texas A&M, I thought that was the first game where Auburn just was not able to get in a rhythm in a basketball game. How do you work through that as a team and as a coaching staff? Because that's rare that's happened. I'm not sure that it's happened quite like it did in that game. Has it in any other game this year?
No, it hasn't. And I just think going back, watching film, showing them what we didn't do well, where we didn't set the screen, where we didn't come off the way we needed to come off. I thought Coach D had a really good game plan. I just think we didn't execute it very well. And, we'll go back and we will work on our offensive execution a lot better.
Coach D, recruiting tonight, Coach, and that's something that does not stop throughout the season. So how do you balance as a staff for recruiting on a Monday night or a Tuesday as you get ready for games on Thursday and then again on Sunday?
When players play, we have to go. We're always recruiting. And so, but when we have 1 out or 2 out, we'll have other coaches to step up. So this next scout is Coach Fred's. So Coach D had the Texas A&M scout, so it made sense for her to go out and recruit. And actually, her game got canceled, so she was able to get back off the plane, and she's driving back here now. So, but she. Absolutely, Coach Fred will be ready for that scout. And, everybody else was in the office working today.
All right, I got Wes Todd. Wes, wave your hand up, wave the mic to everybody. Wes is going to allow for some crowd questions tonight. Coach Jay, I knew you got sick of my questions, me asking you pregame, postgame tonight at the Coach Jay Show. I got Herb in the crowd. I know Herb's going to give us a good one here tonight. Wes, introduce Herb for us. Herb, what question you got?
We got Herb, as always.
Herb's a regular on Tiger Talk every week.
Okay. Since this is not on radio,
Easy, Herb.
I watched our screen play in Tennessee and Texas A&M, and we didn't seem too effective on our screens, and either offensively or defensively. So is that something we're working on to see if we can't do a little better there?
Absolutely. We go back and show them film on that. And are you talking setting screens, or are you talking getting off setting screens and then getting off screen? I thought our guards, after the first quarter at Texas A&M, we did a better job of coming off the screens. I didn't think we took necessarily the right shots coming off those screens. I thought Honesty hit some big shots coming off the screen. I think we were hesitant because they were hedging hard early coming off those screens, but when we kept going, we kept telling them, you have to keep going. You can't take one or two dribbles off. You have to keep going, and then if you don't have anything, you throw it back and look inside. So we had to call timeout and remind them of that. But we'll go back. Coach D has already broken down all that film. She sent it to me at 1:30 this morning, and then I had a chance to go through it. I had already watched it, but she broke it down for me. And so we'll have a chance to watch it with them and show them our miscues. The same thing, our game plan was to trap ball screens, and we did so some of the time, but then sometimes our post wasn't up to set the ball screen, and then our guard is thinking, look, we're trapping, so, her guard would split them. So that's where we have to be better. That's why they have to have better communication. Sometimes the post is thinking, well, that's not really a screen, but it looked like a screen. So we'll show them, and we'll show them the difference tomorrow when we watch film, and we'll get better. This team is you can show them film, and they're resilient. They'll go back and they'll watch it, they learn from it, and they come back out and try to apply it.
Coach Jay, appreciate it. Herb, great question.
Great question.
I would love for you to come help fill in for me one night. Would you do that for me on a Monday night on the Coach? Herb's my man. He's listening to Tiger Talk every week enough. He could come in. He could fill in for Andy, Brad, me, anybody, anytime, anywhere. Coach Jay, you hungry?
I am hungry.
Go place an order. It's on us tonight. Go take a seat. Let's give Coach Jay a round of applause here at the Coach Jay Show. We'll have her back on here in just a few minutes. We're going to give her a break and invite Coach Fred Williams up to the table. Coach Fred is the associate head coach for Coach Jay. He's spent time in the WNBA, and he is a scouting guru for Auburn. Love picking his brain week in and week out. He had the Tennessee scout. He's got the Ole Miss scout coming up for Thursday night. Tigers are back in action Thursday at Ole Miss at the Pavilion. It'll be a 6:30 tip on the air at 6:15 locally on AU 100, 100.3 FM, online at auburntigers.com and the Auburn Tigers app. You can listen to any live broadcast on auburntigers.com and the app every single week. This week, the Tigers have a tough week. Auburn, again, on the road at Ole Miss, a team that made the Sweet 16 a season ago. And then Auburn returns home on Sunday. Auburn hosts the defending national champions in the LSU Fighting Tigers on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. We need a big crowd at Neville Arena. LSU is a good basketball team this year. They're going to be in the national conversation, and we need a big crowd out in Neville Arena. But we're now here on the Coach Jay Show for our second guest of the night. We have Tigers associate head coach Fred Williams. Coach War Eagle, welcome on to the show for the first time this year.
War Eagle.
All right, Coach. You got your wife Bo. I got to see her in Texas yesterday. Well, how does she keep you straight week in and week out? Got to ask that. I got to see her on FaceTime a minute ago, too.
She wears the badge, so I stay
just
straight,
like my wife too.
Straight and narrow, right there.
Yep.
Whatever she says, I goes, and just happy wife, happy life.
How's your family doing?
Family's doing good.
Everybody good?
Everybody's
good.
great. Thank you.
Your second year at Auburn, Coach, and year one to year two. How's year two been different so far than year one? Just where you're rolling, also too the meshing of the team.
Well, it's just a transition from coming from the WNBA, jumping right in, and seeing the fold of how everything's transpired with the culture of the team, how we've all developed into a bigger family right now. The first year was a surprising effect. We're probably about 2 or 3 games out from, making that playoff window for the NCAA. And I thought this year we made a big push in the summer, taking the team overseas to compete over in France and over in Paris, and just having a great time. And I thought it carried over for us in the preseason this year. And we knew coming into SEC play it was going to be tough. So here it is.
Here it is, and you're in charge of helping this team prepare, helping this team grow and learn every week. Talk me through your teaching philosophy for basketball at practice, working with these players and this staff week in and week out.
Well, week in and week out, we have a thing where we meet all the time. Coach Jay does a great job of preparing us for practices and film sessions and especially for games. The scouting part is the important part for us assistant coaches to make sure that the team is prepared and go in there and have a full throttle what the opponent's going to do on defense and offense. Yeah. And, pretty much after that, on a daily, we just really get after it on the floor and get a lot of reps in.
Your philosophy is one of the reasons why Coach Jay wanted to bring you in. Obviously, your resume in the WNBA, your coaching career is speaks for itself, Coach. You're a heck of a basketball coach, but the philosophy is one of the things that Coach Jay really liked about you. You have similar philosophies. Explain your similar coaching philosophies and why you wanted to come to Auburn a couple years ago.
I like the name War Eagle. I like the colors.
I hear you.
I like the people and the fans. And I come, back in the day, I come and visit.
Color looks good on you, by the way.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it looks good.
So I just think we have the same type of drive, and that's, really get after people defensively, being aggressive on the defensive end, offensively running, putting the ball down the floor and trying to score. And just having that mindset that we want to win. We both won championships and have rings. She's probably got more than me right now, so we're going to get some together. I know that's coming in the future.
I look forward to it.
I look forward to it, too. So that'll be a good color on us, too. A nice little gold or maybe silver, but we want gold.
I don't have a gold ring.
You don't?
I don't have a gold ring yet. All right. Wes, you got a gold ring? A gold ring, a championship ring? All right. Okay. All right. He's got one. He's got one.
We're going to make it happen.
You can get that one from me. So
I can say I'm very confident in how the young ladies are developing. I've been there with championship teams in the past, in collegiate and also in the pros, and it takes time. It doesn't come overnight.
Well, one of the things and one of the ways you're helping Auburn week in and week out, Coach, is with scouting. Take me through scouting. What goes into scouting in layman's terms and some of the key components that you're trying to implement and what you're learning from other teams?
Yeah, a scout, and I did this the other day, and I wanted to see how long it would take. It takes about 18 hours straight without an interruption of doing a complete scout. And that's watching, at this point, we're watching about 5 games of the opponents, breaking down some of their tendencies. Some teams lose some players to injury, so that throws a wrinkle in it, so you have to go back on a few things. But, scouting is, you have to just be on point what you're looking at, what you're doing, present it to the team. And like tonight, if I didn't have the show, I'd still be in the office at home breaking down some film and trying to prepare more for Ole Miss.
So does that make it hard to do scouts back-to-back games for coaches? I know you guys split that responsibility on the staff, but if it takes 18 hours, there's only so many hours in the week between coaching and allowing you to prep and being at home for your rest. So roughly how many games on the schedule? Let's say you got 5 games. Do you get every other one roughly?
Pretty much, some games I get maybe like the last couple of weeks I get 2. Not in a row, but in within 8 days or so. But mainly about every 3 to 4 games you get a scout, especially for collegiate, because you get at least 2 games a week. And for me, it's just a matter of just making your time in the morning to have the scout process of doing things in the office and then also doing at home.
you got the Ole Miss scout coming up on Thursday night. Coach, let's dive into that a little bit. That's an offense that averages just under 70 points a game. They don't shoot the three particularly well, and they're
That's
also
good.
They're also at least turnover prone by the numbers. They turn it over
That's
15
another good
times.
one. There you go.
But they've got some good players in there. So I remember Madison Scott, Snooda Collins, or a couple. They got Marquisha Davis as well from Arkansas. What are some early trends you've seen from the Rebels in your scouting so far?
The trends of for that team, their length, they're long, they're athletic. They have some speed, and with their length of where they can switch a lot on defense and don't lose anything there, it causes problems for people to turn the corner and try to get to the rim. And I just thought they pretty much moved, Madison Scott, who's about 6'2", at the point position to run right now, and she's doing a really good job at it. But you made some points of the turnovers for them, the points. We know what we have to go and do, and we have to get after them once we get off that bus.
On the flip side, though, they are a really good defensive team, much like Auburn. They allow just 54 points a game. They're forcing 17 turnovers a game, Coach. And look, it's no secret right now. Auburn is trying to find their rhythm in the half-court offense. I know it'll be a challenge on Thursday night. What will they run defensively in terms of man, zone, and some keys that Auburn will have to keep in mind?
Well, I think, with them, with Ole Miss, they do a great job of, pressuring in the backcourt. Yeah. A lot of presses with their length. They kind of open it up a little bit. Our thing is just, kind of keeping our turnover rate down real low, which we fairly do that. But we got to get, better rebounding, and then also defensively, we just got to, really close out on some dribble drive situations.
Coach, we'll leave you with the X's and O's, and I'll hit you up again at shoot around on Thursday. I'll leave you one final question before you go. Is you got a chance to be a part of that USC National Championship with women's basketball back in the 80s. Had some stars on that team, and you all had a reunion a couple months back. And what was that like going back to USC in Southern California, where you got to see some stars there, Cheryl Miller being one of them, Cynthia Cooper, wow. Tina Thompson. What was that like going back? I mean, because those were some of the greats back in the 80s in our sport. That
was some of the greats to see them at Southern Cal and in the 80, 84, the 80s days. And they were, they still look the same. They look like they can still play a few minutes out there. For me, this past weekend to see, Coach Blair, who was, he mentioned that he had knocked him off for 2 national championships back in the day, and he gave a big hug and also gave me his card. Yeah. So I got his trading card, so it's worth $1 million to me right now.
You said Coach Gary Blair, right?
Yeah,
so Coach Blair, he walked up to me and Miss Amanda, who's sitting out in the crowd. He walked up and said to give Joe Champy, your buddy, tell him to tell him hello once we got back to Auburn. So I can't wait to tell Coach Champy that on
it was
Thursday.
Great. SC days and all that, but that's the older day. That's 40-something years ago. And right now is War Eagle time, and let's get this unit on the map and keep going. I think we're making noise. I think our fans do a great job of supporting us, and we're going to keep doing what we do.
Well, Coach Fred, we appreciate what you do for Auburn. Appreciate you being here tonight, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Tigers Associate Head Coach Fred Williams here on the Coach J Show. We're about halfway through. Got 2 more guests we want to hit before we wrap things up with Coach Jay. We've got 2 players joining us tonight. The first up is the Tigers point guard, Jemiah Mingo Young. Everybody welcome Jemiah Mingo Young up to the stage. This is her 3rd stop in the SEC. Started with Coach Jay at Mississippi State. Went to another school that we won't mention in Alabama. And Jemiah is going to wrap up her career this year, though, with us here on the Plains in Auburn, Alabama. Jemiah, welcome on. Welcome to the show, War Eagle.
Thank you, War Eagle.
Jemiah, I had to give you a little hard time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Just making sure. But look, I like the orange and blue. The navy and orange, it pops, right?
Yes, it does.
All right, it pops. So walk me through that decision to come to Auburn. Obviously, you had the connection with Coach Jay from Mississippi State.
It was simple. Once I entered the portal the last time, a lot of people was under the impression like I was done for real and I couldn't play. But Coach Harris actually, when she called me, the first thing she asked me what position I wanted to play, and I always wanted to play point guard. So we were kind of in sync there, and of course our history. It just made sense.
Yeah. Well, and I remember when you first transferred to Alabama, and that was during a time of transition at Mississippi State as well. That was just days apart from Coach Jay getting the Auburn job.
2 days.
Do you remember that time frame?
Yeah.
And I know that was tough, but with the transfer portal, and I ask this as a fan and just someone who it has not impacted personally. You know, that there's so many opinions out there in the world about the transfer portal and what's good and what's bad about it. Tell us about it from the student-athlete perspective and why it's so good and helpful for student-athletes to have that option, especially as you benefited from it.
I can just only, speak on my situation. So I think the transfer portal is really good, especially, I had coaching changes. So, of course, if you're not with the coach that you signed to, it's going to be different. So, of course, you can go to the portal and, go somewhere where you think is better. But a lot of people they don't understand because they're not athletes. But I think the transfer portal has its benefits. And also nothing is perfect. Of course, there's a bad side to it. But for the most part, I think the transfer portal is good for athletes.
Well, your mentality, we got to see, and we got to watch your skill set. We got to scout you a little bit a couple times in the SEC. I remember Mingo, her freshman year, Auburn went to Mississippi State, and it was a top 25 Mississippi State team. Auburn was on the road, Mingo, and it was back and forth game. Mississippi State pulled away late. And then when you transferred to Alabama, there was that back and forth battle in the SEC tournament. And I remember Jemiah Mingo Young and one more teammate. You were one of the difference makers in that game.
Right.
And Mingo, I have to say, after those two basketball games in particular, I think I speak for all Auburn fans when I say I'm glad you're on our team this year. So glad to have you here at Auburn. And one of the reasons, though, is your mentality, your intensity on the floor, and your toughness. Where does that come from within? Because that doesn't change. That persona that you carry, that's who you are. That's deep from within. Where does that come from for you?
Just whenever you go through things in life, it changes your perspective on a lot of things. So every day I wake up, I'm just thankful to be able to do the things that I love, and I don't take it for granted. So that's why every time I step on the court, I'm very passionate about what I do.
And I see your passion, but also see a smile. I see you want to be there. You're always giving your teammates hugs, giving your coaching staffs hugs. Is that the appreciation you're talking about, just being in that moment day in, day out?
Yes, sir.
And that's contagious. So that relates to your role on this team as a veteran. How did your role become established, you being one of the newcomers on the team this year, but also having so many years' experience, not just at this level, but in this conference?
Just like you said, everybody knew that I've already had experience coming in. So I felt like that made it easier for my teammates and stuff to just embrace me, listen to some of the things that I have to say, and just learn from me. And I learn from them day in and day out as well.
Passing the basketball is very important in the point guard position. I wanted to walk through your style of play a little bit. You can score, but you also are a great distributor of the basketball, and you take care of the basketball. You said you wanted to play the point guard position with Coach Jay. What's her philosophy on that position, and how do you fit this scheme and this style?
For starters, try to protect the ball.
Yeah.
Last couple of games, I think I had a couple turnovers in them. I don't like that, but for starters, protect the ball and create for your teammates, make their job easier. But basically just running the offense, executing the offense. It doesn't matter who scores, just making sure that we get a good look.
How hard is that as a player to get over it's not the me mentality, it doesn't matter who scores? At what level do you learn that, or is that something you just have to continue to learn and grow in?
No, that's just how I grew up playing basketball.
Sure.
I love basketball. It's a team sport. No one person can win the game. So when everybody is on the team is eating, everybody's scoring, everybody have a part in it. That's just how I grew up playing basketball.
One thing about point guard, though, and I think it's the most underrated part of the position, is the communication. And talk me through the importance of communication and your communication style on the floor.
It's still my communication. I feel like it's good, but of course it can get better. You can always get better. Just knowing how and which teammates you can talk to, how you got to get through the different teammates, what your teammates don't know or what they do know. You got to understand a lot of different things coming at the point guard position.
Yeah. and then your free throw shooting. You can score in a lot of ways. You can drive to the basket. Your mid-range pull-up, I love it. But also your free throw, your clutch free throw shooting down the stretch. Is that rhythm, more of a mentality, or is it both?
Just like you said, scoring. You can score a lot of different ways in a basketball game.
Yeah.
And free throws is very underrated because if you play physical, you're going to get fouled, and you got to be able to knock down the free throws.
Well, if you want to play for Coach Jay, though, you got to play defense, and playing defense doesn't come easy. Your defensive game, you're getting a lot of the guards in the SEC. What do you see, and who are some of the toughest players in the league that you have to guard? And you can take me through even the last couple games, if you will.
Yeah, we got a lot of tough guards in the SEC. It's a lot of them. My last two that I played, the SEC is just tough. Every game you're going to have a different guard that can go off for 20. So last couple games, I can't even think of her name. But
I know the Powell kid from Tennessee was a good
Powell,
one.
and then I just had India last night.
Yeah.
And then coming up again, and Ole Miss has a guard that can go off. She just went off yesterday.
Yeah.
She might not be a point guard, but she will probably bring the ball up the floor.
Well, and you're selling yourself short, folks, because in Auburn's 8-game winning streak, at the start of the year, Jemiah, you had to miss 3 games. When that 8-game winning streak, Jemiah, you were our best player down the stretch. You averaged over 11 points a game in the last 4. You started to catch your stride. Why?
Just rhythm. Basketball is a rhythm game. The more you play, the more comfortable you get. Just knowing building chemistry with your teammates. And I just knew once I got on the court, that's something that I had to do.
SEC experience is big. I know you're in a tough stretch right now, and this is something I know you take personal. You've said it on the Regions Bank postgame show. You take pride in that. But one of the things that you've got to teach and you will teach the younger players is this league is a grind, and you got to bring it night in and night out. What's your strategy in guiding your teammates through this? Because there are a lot of players on this team, as Coach Jay mentioned, who are going through this for the first time.
Yeah, I told you we were going to have to take some punches. So It's our turn to punch back. That's all it is. You got to learn from these first 2 games. We done got punched, but it's about time for us to punch somebody back.
Well, I'm looking forward to it on Thursday night. Jemiah, appreciate you joining us tonight. Enjoy the meal, and we'll see you on the court on Thursday. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Jemiah Mingo-Young, Tigers starting point guard. We've got a trivia question related to Jemiah Mingo-Young. I was very clear with my wording not to give that away in our interview with Jemiah. But coming up, we're going to have Taylon Collins as our next to last guest on the show tonight. Taylon comes to Auburn from Oklahoma State, and she's been a force for the Tigers inside this year, rebounding, scoring the basketball, and as I learned tonight, she is also great at giving fashion advice as well. So we'll touch on that here in just a couple minutes. But Taylon, welcome on to the show. A big War Eagle to you.
War Eagle.
What's it like being in Auburn, your second stopping in your college career?
It's great. It's a great experience all around. You get to be around some really amazing people, and I think that just makes it the most of it.
Hometown, and what's your major? Where are you from?
My hometown is Muldrow, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Super, super small, and my major is marketing.
Major is marketing. So you come from Oklahoma State, pretty good at rebounding, 4th in the Big 12 in rebounding. What were some of the other schools that recruited you out of high school first time around?
Out of high school, it was a lot, but I can try to remember my top 5. It was Oklahoma State,
Okay.
Arkansas, Texas A&M. I'll mention that one. And then I had, what was my others? Oh, Kentucky. I can't remember my 5th school.
What about Coach Jay? Did you run across Coach Jay early in the recruiting cycle for you?
I think so. I can't really remember. Yeah. It's been a minute.
Well, how about this? Well, Coach Jay, now you're in the portal, obviously, between last year and this year. I ask you the same question I asked Mingo. Why Auburn, and how has the transfer portal been beneficial to you?
Auburn really stuck out for me because I was so big on just having a coaching staff that trusted me and believed in me, and then me trusting them on the other end, that they really had my best interests at heart. And just talking to them on the phone, It wasn't something that I was dreading because, conversations on the phone can get a little tiring. You're constantly talking to everybody. But with Coach J and Coach D and her staff, it was just at home. Like, it was like I was just talking to family.
Yeah.
So it made it a lot easier. And I truly feel like the transfer portal is a really special thing, especially from the player side, because it gives players the opportunity to not feel trapped, So if they're not necessarily in the best situation or just want to experience a different position or just other things, it gives them the freedom to do that. So.
Well, in terms of trust in the coaching staff has a lot of trust in you, Taylor. You started every game this season. How have you embraced that role on the team thus far? You played a couple different positions along the way as well.
Yeah. It's truly special that just to know that my coaching staff has that much faith in me. I'm always trying to do what I can for my team and for them, and just to put us in the best position possible.
Well, and Coach Jay, when you came to Auburn, she wanted you to have a bigger role in the offense. How did you take that on, and was that appealing to you in terms of, hey, she doesn't want you just to get second chance points. She wants you to be involved in the set plays.
It means a lot because that's something that I spoke to her about, like wanting to expand my game. That was the area that I wanted to improve on. And she's just been instilling that in me from the very beginning, especially in that aspect. And so, still now I'm, working towards doing even more just to help us out. But just to have that just to know that my coaches have that confidence in me is a lot.
Playing the 4 and the 5 inside, and they look similar to those on the outside, but they are quite different. What are the differences, and do you prefer one over the other?
I would definitely prefer playing the 4 over the 5 just because I am, smaller. These girls are huge.
Tamari Key is one of the funnest players to watch just because from Tennessee because of her size and her ability to dominate. I couldn't imagine going up against Tamari.
Yeah, she's huge. And so I'm you got to know your strengths. I'm tall, but I'm not 7 foot tall. And she was up there. Just playing the 4 just kind of gives you a different look on the court. It's a lot more spread out. You can kind of scan the area a lot more. Playing the 5, your back's to the basket a lot of the time. So, for bigger posts, it may not be as hard for me, but yeah.
Goals for the remainder of the season and what you're trying to improve on, get better at?
Just to be more of an offensive threat for sure. Honesty does such a great job, but, need to help her out.
Sure.
So I'm definitely doing that and just continue to make an impact and, get our foot in. We had 2 tough losses, but definitely it's early in the season, so definitely ready for a turnaround.
We'll leave you with this one. We're glad you are at Auburn, so I got to ask you your favorite Auburn tradition since you've been on campus.
My favorite Auburn tradition. Okay. Let me think. Okay, well, we did that little 12 Days of Christmas, so doing that carol was definitely different.
All right.
We got to make up our own. So that was fun. We all had fun with that. And that was definitely different, but it brought a bunch of laughs.
Taylor, we appreciate you. Congratulations again on making it to Auburn and looking forward to what you do the rest of the season. War Eagle.
War Eagle, thank you.
Tigers, Taylor Collins as she and Jemiah Mingo Young join us tonight on the first edition of the Coach J Show. We got just a couple more minutes. We're going to invite Coach J back up here just to set up Ole Miss and LSU. And the week ahead. Again, the Tigers on the road Thursday night. A tough one at Ole Miss. Auburn opened SEC play there last year. They get them in the second week on the road. This year we'll be on the air at 6:15 on Thursday night live from the Pavilion. Listen online at AU100 and 100.3 FM. And Coach Shea, welcome back on. Again, we'll start with Ole Miss on Thursday night. Quickly, just your quick takes as you were able to get Ole Miss last year at home, but the Pavilion is a tough place to play, especially what Coach Yo has built there.
It is a tough place to play, and they lost some players, but they also hit the transfer portal, and they have some really good players back. They're big, they're long, aggressive, athletic, so we'll be able – Coach Fred has a good game plan together already, and we've been talking about it, and so we'll implement that tomorrow and the next day, and we'll leave on Wednesday, and then, get ready to go play on Thursday.
Well, how convenient for the second year in a row. The SEC has decided to award Auburn with the defending national champions not once but twice. We get LSU for the first time on Sunday at home. That'll be a big crowd. And one of the things, Coach Bob Starkey returning to Auburn for the first time. And I know he's won a lot of connections on this coaching staff after spending a year at Auburn.
Absolutely, and he absolutely came in here and helped us set the tone for our program. He was a big part of a lot of things that we did here. He was our defensive coordinator, but he also did a lot with our alumni and in the community. So he will definitely be welcome back, but we're going to be trying to kick his butt.
On the floor, style of play quickly. LSU is a lot of people wanted to look at that first loss and say they were down. They aren't down. Angel Reese, a generational player. What concerns you about LSU?
They have 5 players on the floor that can score it at any point in time, so it's hard to help off of them. It's we'll have to be really, really connected. Their rebounding is relentless, so we'll have to be good on the glass. We'll have to box out, and all 5 of our players have to go, and that's one of our weaknesses. So we'll be working on our weaknesses, and A&M exploited us there. We have another good rebounding team in Ole Miss, and then LSU. So all of them are really good rebounding teams, and we'll have to be really good there.
This league is a grind. We learned it. We learn it year in and year out. I know it's important to find a win. It's also important to keep that morale, keep working. Coach, what's the message this week as you move forward and get ready to upset some people this week?
We just got to keep working. We got to continue to play hard, play our style of ball. We got to be able to execute. Our big message for them is execution and playing hard and giving ourselves a chance, to be in the ball game at the end, and then it's anybody's ball game.
Coach Jay, we appreciate you tonight. Looking forward to being back at the Coach Jay Show at Baumhower's every single Monday night at 6. Coach, that's going to wrap up our show. Thanks for being here tonight. We'll see you in Ole Miss on Thursday. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Tigers head coach Johnny Harris. Our next broadcast is Thursday at 6:15 Central. The Tigers are on the road at Ole Miss for a 6:30 tip. Sunday, Auburn returns home again to host Ole Miss. That'll be a 2 o'clock tip. Dr. Larry DeShare and I will be on the air at 2:45 for that one. Tune in to both broadcasts on AU 100, 100.3 FM, online at auburntigers.com, and the Auburn Athletics app. 1 week from tonight, the Coach Jay Show returns again back to Baumhower's at 6. If you can't join us at Baumhower's, tune in on the Auburn Tigers YouTube page. For Coach Jay, Coach Fred Williams, Jemiah Mingo Young, Taylon Collins, and Wes Todd, I'm Britt Bowen. Good night and War Eagle from Baumhower's Victory Grill. All right, everybody, for those in the crowd tonight, testing 1, 2, he's